And that whilst your purpose
that you've signed up to and we share together is to be your best in all you do.
And greatness can only be measured by the difference between before you showed up and after you showed up. If I look at the number of people whose lives have been transformed by your voice, that's how we measure your greatness. I just want to drop those 5 most important key strategies around what it is that you need to do. The first thing that you need to understand is the first strategy I want to give to you is what I call right pricing. Right pricing. Many times we start with getting our foot in the door. And many times we go in with an introductory price that we hope will attract the desired or our desired target market and give them the reason to give us an opportunity. I'm sure everybody knows that. Most times that's what we do. We know that what we are offering is worth much more. And most times, even during negotiations, they will say to you, look, just accept this just for now, just so that you can get your foot in the door. Well, so the challenge that you have with pricing is that every time you have an introductory pricing that truly undercuts the true value of your proposition, whether it's a product, a service, something that you do for an organization especially, the problem that you have is that the organization has systems that remembers your introductory price. But those systems do not remember them as introductory price. They remember them as your price. So one of the ways that I've always advised that you go about this is rather than go through a negotiation where the price point that you bring into the organization is reduced, rather than reduce your price point to go into the organization, increase your discount, what you call a relationship, and qualify the discount. It can be called relational discount. It can be called introductory discount. So what that does is to say, listen to this. So you decide that I want to run a training. I want to come and speak to your management team. I want to do a coaching. And the price point for your coaching is going to be $10,000. Don't say to people, well, they say, but we can't afford it, so let's do introductory price of $5,000. Don't talk to them about $5,000. Talk to them about 50% discount. But call that discount an introductory price discount or a relationship discount. And what you do with that is that you establish in your invoice $10,000. Then you say less relationship discount. Now they can pay $5,000, but it is on record within the organization that your pricing is $10,000. And what you do is you put it there to say, so right now, yes, you have a discount of $5,000, but this is not the worth of it. It's the discount of $10,000. Now, if you did not put that $10,000, the organization will have no record that this particular product was valued at $10,000, but it was given to us at $5,000. What the organization will have it on record as is that it was given to you at $5,000. Now, don't forget, you went through a negotiation where you said $10,000, they said $5,000, you said, okay, I will do it. The problem is the invoice. I hope somebody's getting what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, are you getting it? The problem is the invoice, not the entry price, it's the invoice. Make sure that invoice reads that 10,000, less that particular discount that you give, so that when you remove the discount, your invoice is still reading 10,000, if you see what I'm trying to say. Every time you go in at 5,000, you are going to be stuck at 5,000. It will take you almost breaking your relationship with that organization to get them to say, okay, we can't lose you, to be able to move you from 5,000 to 10,000. So that's the first most important thing, to do something called right pricing, especially at the beginning. Now, remember, you're trying to get your foot in. Even if you're going to do it for free, you can literally send an invoice that says $10,000, less relationship discount 100%. payable, zero. But you have had it on record that this thing is priced at $10,000. So right pricing is one of the first ways. From now on, if you want to be able to make twice as much as you want for next year, your next invoice should read twice as much, and then you discount it to what you can actually get the customer to pay right now. And one of the beautiful things about writing the full price point of what you want to earn next year is not just that it informs the customer, but it gives them a feel-good factor. They feel like they got something that is at a good deal. You know how, guys, let me give you a very quick story around this one. I wasn't planning to tell that story, but I will. So, you know, I traveled to the US sometime in the month, I think it was August. And, you know, every time when I'm traveling, I have a couple of things that I would decide that, okay, I'm going to try and pick up for myself this time around. Now, most times I'll put myself on the budget. My budget will never, you know, it doesn't break it allows me to be able to do everything I want to do for everybody else. So it turns out that this time around, I wanted to get a particular pair of sneakers that I've wanted for a long time. And I just thought, look, okay, let me do it this time. It's a Nike Sakai. So anybody who knows, you can go and Google it, Nike Sakai. I did not know, in all my admiration, how much Nike Sakai was costing. So long and short of it was, I just had like, okay, when I travel, I'm going to get myself a Nike Sakai. So I got to the US and I started trying to find Nike Sakai in every store. And every Nike store that I went to, they would say, did you say the Sakai? I would say yes. They say, you can't find Sakai in a store. Sakai is a special brand. It's a premium brand it's a collaborative brand that this guy's called Sakai did with Nike. And so, you know, unfortunately, you can't get the Sakai. So I thought, oh, wow, what do I do now? So I went online. And when I got online, I found Nike Sakais at different price points. One of them was going for $560. Another one was going for $700. Another one was going for $400. I think the lowest that I found was $400, right? Now, at that point in time, you know, I think that my eye was clear that I did not necessarily need a Nike Sakai. Because I have a child that was just going to school, uni, and you know, all of that. So cut the long story short, as we were going through, my sister-in-law, who was also looking on the internet with me, found a website that said Nike Sakai was going for $175. Now, I was a bit suspect. So I thought, from 700, 500, 400, 175? So we didn't do anything about it. We went to sleep that night. By the time I woke up the next morning, my sister-in-law says to me, oh, bros, I just forgot to tell you, I've already paid for that thing. So I said, when did they say it would arise? She said, they didn't say when it would arise. I said, arrive. I said, but no, but usually for every time you place an order, they will tell you that, you know, delivery date should be. So we went back there. We didn't see any delivery date. So we decided to call the store. We called the store and it was saying this number does not exist. So we realized, or I realized, oops, they don't hit us. Like your head now, when you are going to try and get Nike Sakai for $175, something you have seen $700, $600. So, you know, in a way, I told my sister-in-law, well, sorry, I gave her back the money immediately. And then I said to her, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's lost. And she said, no, bros, nobody can steal our money. We don't steal. We are, nobody can cheat me. No. I said, don't worry about it. She said, no, nobody. So anyway, she went to UPS. She called, different kinds of things. She did everything she could. They couldn't get anybody. And it was in another state. I came back to Nigeria. And 4 weeks or 3 weeks later, my sister-in-law calls me and is screaming on the phone. And she says, bros, have you seen what I sent you? I said, what's that? She shows me the picture of a Nike Sakai that had arrived in her box. I can always go and bring it for you guys to see. She showed me a picture of Nike Sakai. She said, bros, I told you nobody could cheat us. Nobody could cheat us. They brought the Nike Sakai. Those people, they brought it. Guys, I cannot tell you that Nike Sakai is worth more to me than the 175 that I paid for it, because I soon discovered that Nike Sakai was going for as high as $700. Now, how come that organizations, and it is original, it is true, it is whatever it is, how come they sent it to us? I don't even know what, how come they sent it to us, Sha, for 175, and it is a store? We don't know. My sister-in-law apparently now called the store again, and this time their number went through. She sent to FedEx, you know. So the long and short of it is, it's a legit store. It's a this. I don't know what happened at that time, but they supplied Nakai. The point that I'm making, why I told you that story, is that the Sakai is worth more than I paid for it, because I know that the value of the Sakai is higher. I'm not. This is the same thing that you need to do. You need to let your clients know the value of what they are getting as opposed to the price that they are paying for it. And the only way you can do that is to make sure your invoice sends and communicates the effectively the value that you place on what your product is, your services. Then you allow the discounting to allow them to pay the price that they can afford for now. Do you understand? I hope I've shared that first strategy as effectively as possible. The second one I'm going to tell you is strategy is called over deliver. I said the first one was right price. The second one was over deliver. So when I started working with Guarantee Trust Bank as a consultant, I was actually given a 30-minute opportunity to come on the team of Augusto and Co. to deliver 30 minutes of induction training to Guarantee Trust Bank. Now, 30 minutes was all they gave me. And in 30 minutes, I did all I had to do. I did it with all my heart. I didn't think to myself that these were entry-level people. I have always believed that when you deliver phenomenal experiences, they remain in the mind and especially in the heart, because that's where experiences stay. And that those people who are today, you know, what you call greenhorns, entry level, in the next 10 years or 15 years, they are going to have risen above, you know, to the point where they're decision makers for the organization at different levels, either at the branch level, at the regional level, or even at the corporate level, depending on how fast those guys can go through their own career progression. But in 15 years, they will be decision makers at one level or the other. So when I'm speaking to people at induction level, I speak to them as the CEOs that they're going to be. I speak to them as the people that they are, that has not yet been seen by the world, been manifested. And so I give my very best to them. I don't say, oh, this one is should be their only entry level. What do they know? I serve them like as if I'm serving a class of CEOs. Well, so I did my best. About 2 weeks later, Augusto calls me into a meeting, the Augusto and Co., the organization. And they say, well, we want you to know that Guarantee Trust Bank has challenged us to bring you back. But what they've said is they want you to please come and close out the induction program. And I said, so what does that mean? They said, no, so we're asking you to come a second time, and we will do it at the same price as we did the first one. So that means one opportunity has led me to another transaction within one big transaction of Augusto. They had to go and, at the request of GT Bank, create time for me to come, and they had to pay for it. So now I have earned double of what I was scheduled to earn in dealing with Augusto. Is there anybody feeling me here? Are you, sorry, am I connecting, guys? Please let me know that you're here. Are you here? All right. Dolly, I can see you. Thank you, Frederick. All right. So now I have doubled my income within one transaction. Next time, Augusto calls me and says, hey, fella, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Say, what happened? Say, now Guarantee Trust Bank wants you to start the program, the next induction, and close the next induction, but they want you to do it for one whole day. We told them we cannot afford you. So Guarantee Trust Bank has accepted that they will pay you directly to start it and to close it. So how much are you going to charge? So now I'm charging Guarantee Trust Bank twice as much as Augusto paid me for half a day. And now I'm charging for the first day and the last day. Now Guarantee Trust Bank has to deal with me by themselves. So because Augusto, since they are paying me directly, they now have to deal with me directly. And so they said to me, look, fella, we love what you're doing with the induction, but do you have any other program that you would like to be able to help us run for people who are already in the system? So I said, yes, we do something called superior customer delight. They said, what is superior customer delight? Is that a customer service training? I said, it is not a customer service training. Why did I say it was not a customer service training? Because, listen to me, Guarantee Trust Bank already had customer service training within their budget, their training budget, which means they had already pegged the price for that. So I said, no, it's not the same thing as, this one is called Superior Customer Delight. And I went on to do a presentation that showed them the difference between Superior Customer Delight and customer service training. So Guarantee Trust Bank accepted to pay me more than they were normally doing for what I was paying or what I was being paid for the Augusto training, which they had already prepared for me. So I don't know whether you've noticed what I've said now. Augusto, the pricing was locked on because it had already been in an existing transaction. All I could do to grow my revenue was to get more time out of Augusto. But now that they had removed me from that and they wanted to deal with me directly, now I had to redefine the price point at which they were going to relate with me. But because they were already hooked, bam, Guarantee Trust Bank started to pay me more than they were paying Augusto to run the full day of that training. And they paid me for a 2-day training, Superior Customer Delight. So I run Superior Customer Delight once, twice. By the third time, Guarantee Trust Bank invites me back and says, listen, fella, please, we need you to come in. Our guys have requested that you should please run Superior Customer Delight as a 3-day program, not a 2-day program. I said, well, that's fine. So now Guarantee Trust Bank increases it to a 3-day program, and then we run it. The day we run, after we finish the program, the head of HR calls me back and says, I've just gone through all of the feedback. And the guy said, please, you guys have to get Fela to do this thing as a 4-day program. So now Guarantee Trust Bank is paying me 4 days, each day at the, now, this is real, guys. Then about 2 other times, the guy calls me back and says, listen, Fela, I don't care what you are teaching these people. I honestly don't care. I am not making this thing a 2-week program. I said, why are we talking about 2 weeks? She said the last set of people said they will want to spend 2 weeks with you if they had the time. She said 2 weeks is what people spend on a vacation in the bank. And people want to come and sit down with you for 2 weeks. She said, no way, we're not going to do that. I said, it's okay, you don't have to do it. So Guarantee Trust Bank, literally. And then we started to revise with Guarantee Trust Bank. As there was inflation rates, we'll call Guarantee and say, hey guys, you remember that when we were doing this thing, this was how much dollar to naira was, blah, 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 blah. And most of the time, because of the value and the impact of what we are doing, they would allow us to renegotiate. And because of the relationships that we were building, we were allowed to renegotiate and constantly, in a way, right priced. So what is the point that I've made here? Every time the pathway to premium pricing is to always deliver more than anybody has paid you to deliver. Always. That's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is to have the ability to attract premium clients. In other words, how do you attract people who can afford to pay you more than you are currently earning from your current client base. Can anybody please quickly help me put it out? What strategy number one is, so I know you are still here. I know I'm connecting with you. I know you're fully here. You're fully here. And that some people have come back since we took a break. Right pricing, right pricing. I hope that one got, you guys got that, okay? And I talked to you about invoicing, using your invoice as a very powerful tool and using the discount as a powerful tool. Your discount affects the pricing, your invoice, your invoice affects the value. So that you put there the price that reflects the value of what you have to deliver. Then you put there a discount, and then they can put in affordability. The second one is what? Okay, over-deliver. Over-deliver is a strategy. Listen, guys, I remember the day that we decided that we wanted our training experience to be around 3 words. 3 words. We wanted our training experience to be great, amazing, and wow. And I wrote it down and I said to our guys, what must we do to constantly get our people to say wow, to say great, and to say amazing? And we started to introduce different kinds of things. One of the things that we used to do, guys, was that when we're on the final day of we're training bankers here, we will come with a cake, we will give roses to every woman in the class, and we'll give a bottle of wine to the guys, right? And this is our final day of celebration. So we give the guys and then we pop it, we bring glasses. Now, those you might say, well, but Fela, what does that have to do with the training? Forget, it's not just about the training, it's about the memory. What are you doing in the heart of the people? Because it is from their hearts that they will communicate to the people who matter within the organization. Remember, every time you get an opportunity to deliver a transaction, you are actually marketing for the next transaction. Please, somebody help me put it out there. Every time you get an opportunity to deliver a transaction, you are actually marketing for the next one. In other words, you are creating what will remain in the mind of the people so that the next time that they want to do that transaction, it is what is in their memory bank that they will use to decide. So you are never really serving the customer for this moment. You're using the time to create something called experiential marketing for the next one. And one of the ways that you go about attracting premium clients is through this thing I call experiential marketing. Experiential marketing many times is by reaching out to the people who matter the most, the decision makers, and knowing what is most important to them and offering to do that thing for them almost at no cost. But you will make sure that the invoice shows the value. So I'll give you an example. Every Tuesday morning for many years, we would send out this 8-page proposals to the CEOs of banks, which was the forte that I had for many years, and we'll send out an 8-page proposal to the CEOs. I'm going to talk to you about proposal writing, not today, but I think sometime next week. All right. So, but we'll create this 8-page proposal every Tuesday morning without fail. We started to deliver, and we had a route for delivery. Started to deliver first at when there were 92 banks in Nigeria, when it shrunk down to 87 banks, when they shrunk down to 78 banks. So every Tuesday morning, we would deliver these things. On the day that I met with the executive director and we'll send to CEOs, sometimes for one bank, we'll send to CEO, head of a particular ED, and maybe head of training, depending on the nature of that, what the CEO always gets. So the first person who ever gave me a feedback was a gentleman by the name of Nebulisa Ara, who was the CEO of Fidelity. And the day he met me, he said, "Oh, Fela, so you are the one that sends me those proposals that I can't throw away." And then he invited me to have a conversation with their people on a Monday morning. It wasn't a transaction. It was a conversation. But what I did was that I spoke about something, and I told them that I wanted to give them 7 keys. Are you listening to me? They gave me 30 minutes. They wanted 7 keys. I told them, I'm going to give them 7 keys to you. I used 10 minutes to deliver the first key, 10 minutes to deliver the second key. On the 28th minute, I finished the 3rd key. And I said to them, unfortunately, prior time does not permit me to give you all these keys. But there are 7 of them, and I just want you to know, I've done 3. Maybe some other time we'll probably be able to do 4. The MD stood up, said, "You can't go anywhere. You have to come back and deliver." I said, "Sir, you know I did this one for you for free." He said, "How much will it cost for me to get the remaining 4 keys?" That was how I got my first transaction in Fidelity Bank. That same, sometime later, I met with Uzoma Dozier. Uzoma Dozier brought out a box in his office that had all my proposals in it. All. He said, "I file your proposals. I give them to my team to read. I say to them, guys, can you see how to write proposal?" He said the only thing he feared from my proposal was that he kept on saying, "How much will this guy cost?" So guys, I need you to understand, everything speaks. Your proposals speak. We will buy brown paper, brown envelope, and we will create our logo on that envelope and create the logo of the organization. We will print it on the envelope. So now they can't tear the envelope anyhow because it is the logo of the organization that is on that envelope. So we will say the visible impact for Diamond Bank, but we put Diamond Bank logo at the top and at the middle where you say to the, this Uzoma Dozier, executive director, we now put Diamond Bank logo on it. The problem is that they cannot tear that envelope because their logo is on it. They can't tear it. So what I'm trying to say is that in a way, the way to be able to attract premium clients is reach for the top. Chizo Malize told you that, the highest decision maker, and impress that person. Do something different from what everybody else has done. Speak their language. And I'm going to be talking to you about the language of, there are 5 things that organizations, CEOs worry about. I will talk to you about it. I will teach you about it later. But there are, number 1, how can I increase my top line, meaning earn more, meaning profit, revenue. Number 2, how do I increase my bottom line, which means how can I save more money and how can I earn more profit. Number 3, how can I increase my market share, which means how do we take more territory. Number 4, how do we increase our brand value, which means how do you create experiences that will become more important in the minds of the customer so that your reputation and your brand equity grows. And number 5, how do we increase our returns on investment to our shareholders. These are the only 5 things that I promise you guys, I promise you, these are the only 5 things that organizations care about. Everything else is a strategy that will enable you to achieve. So people can tell you that, yes, our people are the most important people, the most important assets to us. Yes, but those assets are only important to them to the effect that that organization earns more money, saves more money, grows their market share, enhances their brand value in the eyes of the customer, and most importantly, it gives returns to shareholders. That's all. Operations, processes, all of those things, policies, whatever you do, you must be able to show the highest decision maker in their language how what you do will reach them, and then see how it's possible for you to do that. So premium pricing, make sure that everything that they touch speaks premium. We didn't print on paper, we printed on cardboard paper. Then we started to print on gloss sheet paper. And we started to print on, we made sure that the stapling, it was always perfectly in the middle. We made sure that when we folded those papers, that the edges were always perfectly aligned. Never, ever, ever. All of those things showed premium. Every time we would put my business card on every proposal going out, even so many of the CEOs had 50, 60 business cards from Fela Durotoye, because we'll put our business card that showed the person. So I'm just trying to help you understand, if you want to attract premium clients, you need to think about what is important to them. What are they dealing with? You need to present your ideas in the finest form, finest format, in the simplest format, and that's how it is that you must present your ideas in a way that speak premium, something that they cannot throw away. Okay, so we talked about right pricing, we talked about over delivery, we've talked about attracting premium clients. The number fourth one is you must begin to create a tier of your product line and services. Again, this one I will teach a little bit more. Can we have those lines again, please? Tell me, what lines was it I just talked about? If you can remember. Sorry, I'm trying to remember when you say lines. What lines? Isubwe, can you help me, please? I know you asked a question about that. Okay, speaking their language. So their fourth, well, let me just give it to you here. I'll show you now. I said we were going to teach about it later, but I would show you right now. Okay. Can you guys see my slides? Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, good. So these are the 5 things that organizations care about. So don't tell an organization that you want to do customer service training. Well, even if you do, are you going to ask us, are you going to show them how what it is you're doing will help them earn more, will help them save more, will help them grow their market share, will help them grow their brand value, and will help them grow their shareholder value? These are the 5 things that top management cares about, nothing more. So do they care about their people? Yes, they do, to the extent. The same organization that says that people are their greatest assets they would not blink to fire a person who's not helping them achieve this. They will not blink to close down a branch that is not helping them achieve this. So let's be clear. It's not that people are not important. It's just that the importance of anybody, an idea, a person, whatever it is only reflected in these 5 key statements. Okay. All right. Let me just. Are you guys good? Everybody good? Okay. All right. So the next thing I was going to say was you need to tier our organization. And I'm going to show you 2 things that I think are going to be very important to doing this. Okay, sorry. You need to tier our organization. So generally, Maslow speaks about the hierarchy of needs. And generally, this hierarchy of needs is a very interesting hierarchy because it starts with what you call the baseline needs, and then it goes on to the highest level of needs. And there are even higher, levels of need that I didn't put here. Now they have sometimes even 8 classifications of needs. Well, this is the basic one. The need first and foremost for the physiological needs, which is, survival, everything that has to do with survival: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. These are things that people need for survival. Once that survival need is taken care of, or psychological need, physiological need is taken care of, now they begin to move to higher orders of needs, which include things like personal security, employment, resources, health. Those kind of things begin to show it is only somebody who is able to eat tonight that is thinking about a job tomorrow. It's only somebody who is able to put a cloth on their back or shelter on their head that starts to think about things like, resources or healthcare. Once they've done that, they now begin to move into layers that are not necessarily called, or higher orders of need, which are things like love and belonging, relationships, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection, and all of those kind of things now begin to become more important once they've been able to take care of their capacity to sustain and safely provide and meet their physiological needs. And then the next thing is, now that they've taken care of their desire for friendships and intimacy and their social network, they now start thinking at a higher level, at the aspirational level of esteem. So now they're thinking, who am I? How do people see me? What's my status? What's my title? What kind of recognition do I get when I walk into the room? They're no longer thinking about just being able to have a family and friends that are, faithful and honest and truthful to them. They're now thinking about who they are within the society. And then at the highest level, they're thinking of self-actualization, how to become the person that the best version of themselves, and this point in time, it's not just success anymore. It's true success. It's fulfillment. That's whole self-actualization. Well, so I want you to remember this because in a way, it tells us about how at the bottom line, people operate at the level of bare needs. So that tells us that at that place, there's not much money flowing around. Money begins to enter into the conversation at the level of safety. And as you go higher and higher and higher, you get to the point where there is a higher, greater capacity, what you call propensity to spend. Higher, the kind of income that you can actually have to place on premium things, on quality, not just effect. So here is the point. At the baseline of your pyramid of clientele, you got to have what you call the bottom tier. Everybody, please note that. You must have your bottom tier. Then you must have your mid tier. And then you must have your top tier. And then you must have your tip tier. So let me tell you what, and again, I wasn't really going to teach you much about this because I said, and I was going to keep my promise. I said I was going to release you early. So your bottom tier is really where most of the people that are there cannot afford to pay, or they can't afford to pay much. And what you do by creating a service and a product line for your bottom tier is you use that to accumulate a community, a tribe of people who are committed to your brand, your product, your service. So that's where you see people, where you are delivering value at the level of social media. They are not paying for it. But what you lose in payment, you gain in numbers when you deliver excellence at that level. And then you go from there and start streamlining. And so you go from something like an Instagram post to an Instagram live. Not everybody that saw your post will come on the live. So now you are beginning to sift and you are beginning to filter the people who are interested in you, and you begin to filter them to the people who are interested in your idea. Not everybody that is connected to you on Instagram is interested in your idea. Some of them like you, they like the way you dress, and you're supposed to bring all of that to the table. But what an Instagram live does is it tells them about an idea, and only the people amongst your people who are following you are going to come on. But at that point in time, you have 300, 200 people, maybe 100, maybe 50 showing up that night. Now, from there, you can begin to now start introducing pricing as a way of, now that you've filtered those people, who are this kind of people that we can put some kind of price point to. And so now you can begin to introduce a webinar amongst the people that you've introduced an Instagram live to. Not that you won't advertise it at the social media post, but now the more people who are there, and a lot of people will realize that I'm speaking the truth, because many of you came to Speak for Gold based on what you saw when we did an Instagram live. You see, but you are now marketing to the people who are interested in the idea, not just in you. And then you now begin to create another line and layer of products that the people who are interested in going beyond the ordinary for that webinar have. So now we have a coaching program. And so that coaching program is where people now are paying like a $500 for a group coaching or a $1,500 for a single coaching. But by this time, the people who are in that space are the people who now truly are connected with you through the webinar experience. Then you now create the tip. And at the tip is where you now have a premium, not just coaching, but mentoring. Mentoring is the gift that you give to the people that have connected deeper than coaching. And so what we have now, we have created something called FD's Prestige Circle. And the FD's Prestige Circle is made up of 12 people. We didn't advertise it everywhere, but it's made up of 12 people, and we are taking them in classes of 3 months per block. And so for 3 months, FD is sitting with these guys and is touching them every month. And we are bringing a team of people that are touching them every week. And our goals is to be committed to their goals. So it's no longer just I did a group session with you and I'm gone. This one now we are walking the journey with you. But that particular product is going for $10,000 over a 3-month period. So now you see here that the price point is growing, but the level of intimacy is growing with it. At the highest level, you have few people, but you are giving more of yourself. At the lowest level, you have lots of people, but you are using only technology. So there is, as you go down your price point, you increase your intervention with technology. As you go up your price point, you increase and substitute with time. Does anybody understand where I'm coming from? So you got to create tiers. So when I say to you, I want you to earn double what you're earning today, it's in part because I want you to be able to do more than you're currently doing. I want you to do it for more people than you're currently doing. I want you to do it for people that can pay double of what you're currently doing. But most importantly, I need you to create layers and tiers that everybody can find the opportunity to get value from you. And then the last one that I want to talk about is very simple. You just have to learn how to negotiate for higher. You need to learn how to, and we're going to be having a negotiation conversation in the course of this program, so I'm not going to stay with it at all. But to be able to get twice as much as you're getting now, you have to go and renegotiate. But there are ways that you renegotiate. Renegotiation takes place with a strategy. There's a strategy for renegotiation. And I'm going to say to you that there are things that you can use. Okay, there are things that you can use that are critical when you deliver certain critical value. You have the capacity to be able to renegotiate. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, first strategy is to right price. Second strategy is to over deliver. Third strategy is to attract premium clients. The fourth strategy is to create tiers, higher tiers for your product line so that you can have premium versions as you go, whilst you make it still possible for anybody at whatever level of affordability they can engage with you, but you deepen the relationship as you go along. And the last most important thing that I just wanted to quickly share is you must have the capacity to be able to negotiate for higher value. And I'm going to be talking to you about that as we go along. Lanre Olushola, when he comes, I'm going to be tasking him, because Lanre Olushola once got me 3 times what I was going to charge Oceanic Bank just because he walked with me into that place. And Lanre Olushola helped me. So I want him to be there because I want to remind him, because I need every one of us to be able to know the mindset that enables you to charge for more. And Lanre Olushola is going to be doing that with us. It's going to be breaking down limiting mindsets on Sunday the 28th that will stop you from charging or asking for more, from negotiating for higher. Whether it's in the workplace, it's in business, there are ways in which you can negotiate. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've had an amazing time tonight. I hope it's been useful. I hope Chizo Malize blew your mind. I hope you've had a practical understanding of some stuff that we can to ensure that we earn double.